I thought I knew everything about my straight roommate. But one night, while I was fast asleep, he did something that completely shattered that belief. When I woke up, I couldn't believe what I saw. What happened next was so thrilling, it turned my whole world upside down. It started out like any other night. I'd just finished a long day of classes and work, exhausted and ready to crash. Nothing felt out of the ordinary. At least, that's what I thought. I'd been living with my roommate, Chris, for over a year. And he was straight. Always had been, as far as I knew. When I first moved in, I didn't think much of it. We were both just looking for a place to crash, two college guys trying to make it. Chris and I hit it off right away. We'd hang out, grab beers, talk about life, but it never went beyond that. He was always the jock, big, athletic, always surrounded by friends. And I was the quieter one, more into books and gaming. We fell into a comfortable routine. He was easygoing, and I didn't mind our differences. It wasn't like I had a reason to think things could ever be more. He had his life, and I kept my attraction to him completely hidden. I never thought he'd see me that way. Besides, he was straight. But things began to change about 2 weeks ago. I'm not sure when it started, maybe it was a gradual shift, or maybe I was just noticing it for the first time. Something was different. We still hung out, but there were these little moments, lingering glances, brief touches. Nothing obvious, nothing you could easily point to. But I noticed. And I tried to ignore it. I told myself I was reading too much into it, that it was all in my head. It didn't help that Chris had started acting different around me, more playful, almost flirtatious, like he was trying to get a reaction. I remember one night in particular. We were watching some ridiculous action movie, sprawled on the couch, sharing a bag of chips. He was unusually touchy, nudging my arm, laughing a little. Too close. But even then, I pushed the feeling aside. It didn't mean anything. Right? Then came that night. The one that changed everything. We'd gone out to a party, just to unwind, nothing serious. I'd had a few drinks, but I wasn't hammered. We got back to the apartment late, and I was exhausted, my body sore from hours of dancing. Chris was quiet on the walk home, but when we got inside, he turned to me with this unusual smile, not his usual goofy grin, but something more intense. "You good?" he asked, his voice softer than usual. I nodded, shrugging off my jacket as I headed for my room. "Yeah, just tired. Going to crash." "All right, bro," he said, dragging his feet. Just as I was about to close my door, I heard him again. "Hey, you mind if I crash in here tonight?" "I don't know. I just don't feel like sleeping alone." I turned to face him, raising an eyebrow. "Huh?" He scratched the back of his neck, looking awkward. "I know it's weird. I'm just not feeling it. Can we hang for a bit?" My mind was racing. We'd shared a couch before, but this felt different. Still, I didn't want to make it weird. "Yeah, sure. Whatever." Chris settled into the bed next to me. He adjusted his pillow, and for a few minutes, we didn't say a word. Then, he shifted slightly closer. I could feel his body warmth spreading across the sheets. That's when I felt it, the tension. Something undeniable that hadn't been there before. I tried to ignore it, focusing on the dull hum of the city outside, but his presence was overwhelming. There was no brushing it off anymore. Something was going on, and I started to wonder if he felt it, too. The next thing I knew, my eyes fluttered closed, and I drifted off into a sleep that was about to change everything. I woke up in the middle of the night, not from a noise, but from a feeling. A sense that something wasn't right. The room was dark, save for the faint glow of streetlights through the blinds. My body felt warm, but not in a comfortable way. There was a strange pressure on the bed beside me. I turned my head, blinking to adjust to the dim light. That's when I saw it. Chris was still there, but he wasn't just lying beside me anymore. He was closer. A lot closer. I could feel his breath against the back of my neck, warm and steady. His arm was draped across my body, his hand resting lightly on my chest. For a moment, I froze. My heart began to race as I tried to make sense of it. What was he doing? I could have sworn I felt his body shift against mine while I slept. His breath was steady, like he was still out, but that closeness was impossible to ignore. I carefully tried to move, but Chris's arm tightened around me, pulling me in closer. For a second, I wondered if it was a mistake. Maybe he didn't realize. Maybe he was just asleep. But then I felt something else, something firm pressing against my back. A wave of realization hit me, and a breath escaped my lips. My heart hammered in my chest. There was no mistaking it. He was aroused. Panic surged through me, but at the same time, a strange calm washed over me. What was I supposed to do? Say something? Move away? Was I overthinking it? But then, Chris shifted again. His face nuzzled the back of my neck, and his lips brushed against my skin in a soft, tender gesture. I could feel his breath on me, his body pressed so close that the chemistry building between us was undeniable. What is going on? I thought, my mind racing. Straight Chris was acting like this. How? Was this a joke? Then he whispered, his voice so low I almost didn't catch it. Are you awake? I barely nodded, trying to control my pounding heart. His hand shifted on my chest, his fingers grazing lightly over my skin. I couldn't help but tense up. The way his touch lingered felt too intentional. I don't know why I'm doing this, Chris whispered, his voice shaky and filled with an uncertainty I'd never heard from him. He paused, as if searching for the right words. My mind screamed at me to move, to get out before this went further. But something held me there, a powerful mix of confusion, desire, and sheer curiosity. I wasn't sure I was ready to hear what came next, but I was already in too deep. Chris? I said softly, my own voice trembling. He didn't pull away. He didn't apologize. He just tightened his grip on me, ever so slightly. His lips brushed my neck again, and this time, I could feel the heat of his breath more intensely, like he was testing the waters, terrified I would pull away. I don't know what's happening, he breathed, his voice barely a whisper. I could feel the tension in his words, like he was fighting something inside himself. But I need to know something. What is it? I asked, my breath catching in my throat. The air between us was electric, alive with a current I could almost see. His hand slid down my chest, a deliberate, slow movement that stopped just short of where my own body was responding without my permission. I could feel every hard inch of him pressed against me, a silent confession that made my head spin. I was frozen, torn between pulling away and giving in completely. I don't know if I can stop myself, he confessed, his voice ragged and raw. I'm not supposed to feel this way. I can't. But I want to. My entire body went still. Chris was confessing, but to what? His feelings for me? Or was this just a moment of confusion, fueled by the dark and the quiet? Before I could find the words, his lips were on mine. Soft. Unsure. But undeniably, breathtakingly there. And that was it. I couldn't push him away. I didn't want to. His kiss was tentative at first, a question whispered against my mouth, waiting for me to stop him. But I didn't. I couldn't. The warmth of his body, the hesitant way his lips moved against mine, it felt too real, too right to be a mistake. I could feel the confusion and the turmoil in his kiss, but beneath it all, a deep, undeniable longing. It was clear he didn't understand what was happening, but he wanted it. He wanted me. And in that moment, I realized this was only the beginning. I felt his kiss deepen, growing more confident. His hand gently cupped the side of my face, his thumb stroking my cheek as he pulled me closer. Our bodies were pressed so tightly together I could feel the frantic rhythm of his heart matching my own. My mind was a whirlwind, but my body knew what to do. My hand moved on its own, finding its way to his chest, feeling the solid heat of him through his shirt. His heart was hammering against my palm. For a split second, I wondered if he was just as lost in this as I was. Then, he broke the kiss, pulling away just enough to rest his forehead against mine. I could feel his ragged breaths ghosting across my lips. "I'm sorry," he whispered, his voice trembling. "I don't know what I'm doing. I shouldn't be doing this." His apology left me more confused than ever. Was he sorry for the kiss? Or was he apologizing for the feelings behind it? I could see the war in his eyes, the struggle between the man he thought he was and the man he was discovering himself to be. "Chris," I said, my voice soft but steady. "You don't have to apologize." The words slipped out, and I meant every one. I didn't want him to pull away. I wanted to understand this beautiful, terrifying thing unfolding between us. He shook his head, running a hand through his hair in frustration. "But I do. I've never felt this way before. I never thought I would. I didn't mean for this to happen, but it's like I can't control myself. I can't stop." He trailed off, and I saw it, the guilt, yes, but beneath it, something raw and honest and real. He was just as adrift as I was. I reached out, placing a hand on his arm to calm his frantic energy. "Chris," I said softly, looking directly into his eyes. "You don't have to figure this out tonight. We don't have to do anything you're not ready for. But please, don't apologize for what you're feeling." His gaze flickered between my eyes and my lips, the tension between us a living thing. "But I don't know what this means," he confessed, his voice heavy with uncertainty. "I've always known who I am. It's not supposed to happen. It doesn't make any sense." I offered a small, gentle smile, trying to ease the tension coiling in his shoulders. "Maybe it doesn't have to make sense right now. Maybe we can just let it be. We can figure it out together. No pressure." He swallowed hard, and I thought he might retreat again. But then he sighed, and a soft, nervous laugh escaped his lips. "You always know how to make me feel better, don't you?" I chuckled softly, the mood in the room shifting from panic to peaceful. "I try." We sat in silence for a few moments, just breathing, just being. The confusion was still there, but it was now accompanied by a strange, soothing calm. For the first time, it felt okay not to have all the answers. "I think," Chris began, his voice quieter now, "I just need to know I'm not going crazy. Anne. I don't want to mess this up. What we have. I've never been this close to anyone, and I don't know what that says about me." "I get it," I replied, gently squeezing his hand. "But you're not crazy, Chris. It's okay. Whatever this is, we can take it slow. I'm not going anywhere." He nodded slowly, closing his eyes for a second as he let out a long, slow breath. "Yeah. Okay." He didn't say anything more, but the look in his eyes, still uncertain, but now filled with a fragile hope, told me everything I needed to know. He was processing, and he was still here. I wanted to reach for him, to kiss him again and explore this new world we'd stumbled into. But I could see he needed time. So, I just lay there beside him, letting the quiet understanding fill the space between us. The night wasn't over. Our story was just taking a turn I never could have imagined. The days that followed were a blur of unspoken words and charged glances. We moved around each other carefully, a silent agreement to avoid the elephant in the room. We pretended everything was normal, but the air between us had changed forever. Chris seemed thoughtful, distracted, like he was working through a complex problem only he could see. I, on the other hand, couldn't stop reliving that kiss. The memory of it was burned into me, the softness, the heat, the shocking rightness of it. I tried to tell myself it was a moment of weakness for him, but a stubborn part of my heart dared to hope for more. The question hung over me constantly, what now? A few nights later, I was alone on the couch, flipping through channels but not seeing a thing. My mind was miles away, back in that bed, lost in the sensation of his lips on mine. Then I heard his footsteps in the hallway. He appeared in the doorway, his expression hesitant, like he was standing on a ledge. "Hey," he said, his voice softer than usual. "You got a minute?" My heart immediately kicked into a faster rhythm. "Of course," I replied, sitting up straighter. He walked in slowly, taking a seat on the couch next to me. The space between us felt vast and insignificant all at once. The silence stretched, thick and heavy with everything we hadn't said. Finally, Chris cleared his throat. "I've been thinking. About everything. About what happened. About you. About me." I held my breath, waiting. "I don't know how to explain it," he continued, his eyes searching mine. "But I feel like I've been walking around in a fog since that night. It's like I'm not sure who I am anymore." I nodded, my voice gentle. "I get it. This is confusing. It's okay to be unsure. We don't have to have it all figured out." He ran a hand through his hair, his fingers trembling slightly. "But what if I don't want to just forget about it? What if I don't want to push this away? What if I want to figure it out? With you?" His words hit me with the force of a physical blow. This wasn't an apology or a retreat. This was him, stepping forward. His face was an open book, filled with a vulnerability I'd never seen before. I saw the honesty, the fear, and the desperate desire to get this right. My heart soared even as my mind whispered cautions. "Chris, I started, my voice catching. "I've been thinking about it, too. A lot. And I don't have all the answers either. But I don't want to ignore it. I don't want to pretend it didn't matter." His eyes softened, and he leaned in slightly, his gaze locked on mine. "So, you don't think I'm crazy?" "Not at all," I said, a real smile finally touching my lips. "I think we're both in uncharted territory here. But I think it's worth exploring." For the first time in days, I saw the tension drain from his shoulders. He exhaled a sharp, relieved breath, as if he'd been holding it for a century. A tentative smile touched his lips, and in that moment, everything felt possible. "You have no idea how much I needed to hear that," he breathed out, the words filled with a relief so profound it seemed to fill the entire room. I didn't know what the future held for us, but in that moment, a powerful surge of hope washed away my fear. We were stepping into the unknown together, and for the first time, it felt less like a risk and more like a beginning. There was something about him, about us, that felt undeniably real. He shifted closer, his hand resting gently on the couch between us. There was a moment of hesitation, a silent question in his eyes. I didn't need words. I simply leaned in, closing the distance. When our lips met again, it was different. The confusion was gone, replaced by a quiet certainty and the thrilling promise of something new we were both choosing to explore. The kiss deepened, filled with a tenderness and intensity that left me breathless. In that moment, I let myself go completely, surrendering to the connection and giving in to what felt truly inevitable. When we finally pulled apart, the world seemed to stand still. Chris's eyes were wide, as if he was seeing me, and him. Self, for the very first time. I could feel my own heart racing, a wild, joyful rhythm against my ribs. That felt. He started, his voice low and filled with wonder. I didn't expect it to feel like that. I let out a soft laugh, more from overwhelming emotion than nerves. Yeah. Me neither. The way he was looking at me was entirely new. It was like the walls we'd both built had finally, completely crumbled. I don't know what to do with this, honestly, Chris admitted, his voice quiet but clear. I've never felt this way before. Not about anyone like this. I'm still trying to make sense of it all. I nodded slowly, feeling the same blend of confusion and curiosity. It's okay not to have it all figured out. I don't either. But that doesn't have to be a bad thing. We can take it slow. There's no rush to define anything. I watched him relax, the tension leaving his shoulders as he understood there was no pressure, only possibility. He ran a hand through his hair, sighing as he leaned back. I guess that's it, right? We don't need all the answers tonight. I just know. I want to see where this goes. I want to figure it out with you. The sincerity in his voice made my heart flutter. There was no hesitation now, just an open, honest desire. I want that too, I said, my voice soft but steady. I don't know what happens next, but I know I don't want to walk away from this. A small, genuine smile touched his lips. Yeah. Me neither. So we just keep going? No pressure, no rush? I smiled back, a wave of relief washing over me. Yeah. We take it one step at a time. The silence that followed was comfortable, a peaceful space between two people starting to understand each other in a brand new way. After a while, Chris stood and stretched, a playful grin appearing on his face. Well, since we're taking things slow, I should probably get some sleep. It's been a long night. I laughed softly. Yeah, me too. But before he left, he paused in the doorway, looking back at me. With a mischievous glint in his eye. Good night, by the way. I raised an eyebrow, smiling. Good night? That's it? He chuckled. I'm just making sure you're not going to lie in bed overthinking everything. I know that's your specialty. I rolled my eyes, but my smile widened. You're not wrong. But don't worry, I think I've got enough to peacefully occupy my thoughts tonight. His smile softened. Good. Sleep well. He left, and for the first time in forever, I wasn't trapped in a spiral of overthinking. I was just content. I lay there staring at the ceiling, focused on the simple, incredible fact that we had taken that first step together. My phone glowed on the nightstand. A message from Chris. Still awake? I smirked. I could almost picture him in his room, fidgeting. Told you I wasn't overthinking, I texted back. Good. Just wanted to make sure. A pause. Then another message. You okay? I thought about it. Was I? A few weeks ago, maybe not. But now? With the weight of our honest conversation still in the air? I'm okay, I typed. You? The typing bubble appeared and disappeared a few times. I don't know how to do this. The honesty in his text was stark. My heart went out to him. This was new territory for us both, but for him, it was a path he'd never imagined walking. Neither do I replied. And that's okay. Another message came through quickly. But you're not freaking out? No, I typed, sure of my answer. I'm not. That makes one of us. I exhaled slowly, understanding his fear. He was trying to reconcile this new part of himself in real time. I don't expect you to have it all figured out tonight, I wrote. We'll take it one step at a time. No pressure. Just be honest with me. His response was immediate. I can do that. I smiled. Then, another message popped up. Can I come back? My breath caught. A moment later, a soft knock came at the door. I got up and opened it. Chris stood there, his hair messy, looking unsure but determined. He was gripping the hem of his hoodie like a lifeline. Hey, he said quietly. Hey. We just stood for a moment, breathing in the space between us. I don't know why I came back, he finally said, running a hand through his hair. I just didn't want to be alone with my thoughts right now. I nodded and stepped aside. Come in. He walked past me and sat on the edge of the bed, staring at his hands. You ever have that feeling where something huge happens, and it doesn't really hit you until hours later? Yeah, I said, sitting down next to him. I know that feeling. That's what's happening now, he admitted, exhaling slowly. I don't know what this means. For me. For us. And that scares me. I gently nudged his knee with mine. It's okay to be scared. We don't have to have it all figured out tonight. But we both know something real changed. That's enough for now. He looked over at me, and I saw something settle in his expression. The chaos quieted. He nodded. One step at a time. One step at a time, I echoed. Then, without overthinking it, I reached for his hand. It wasn't a grand gesture, just a simple touch. A connection. He flinched just slightly, but then his fingers curled around mine, tentative at first, then sure. He let out a long, slow breath, and his shoulders finally relaxed. We sat like that in the quiet, not needing words, just being together in the new space we'd created. And for the first time, the future didn't feel frightening. It felt full of promise. But it leaves me with a question for you. What do you think of all this? Was this a moment of discovery, or something more? What would you have done if you were in my situation? I'm genuinely curious to hear your perspective. Let me know what you think in the comments below.